So it's Sunday, and that means it's time for a Stashcast. For those of you who don't know who I am, for whatever reason, I'm Aradia Nawari. I'm the resident witch and creatrix over at Aradia's Hand and Danae's Divine, where I create myth, magic, and meaning for your everyday life through art, intuition, and energy work. And on Sundays, I like to do a little thing called a Stashcast. So Stash is a holdover from the fiber and textile community. But really, a lot of the arts and crafts we all have our own versions of stash. And in the textile community, a lot of times it's fabric. It also may be thread. And in the part of the textile community that I originated in, it a lot of times is yarn. And other ways you may see stash will be buttons, beads, sequins, baubles, all kinds of things. I actually have a stained glass stash as well. So stash is just the stuff that you collect. Usually it's materials, not exclusively. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some stash diving. And part of this whole purpose of this segment is to share what I've got and kind of give you some ideas if it's something that you have been looking at, if you have and you haven't used yet, or if you were wondering, what can I do with this? And this is why I haven't bought it yet. So the really cool thing about this is we can always get and share ideas from one another, and it's always a wonderful and helpful thing to do. So part of this Patreon's purpose is to share ideas and to remind you that you too can be creative, and it doesn't have to look one particular way, and that being a real life artist, doesn't look any given way. There's a lot of ways to be creative. There's a lot of ways to be inspired. And, you can make anything pretty much artistic for the most part by adding that little flair to it. So, what I've got is some Loopy Mango Big Loop. And you'll see a very, very close-up picture below if you scroll down in the post, which is where I keep all my pictures, and as well as a link to the Ravelry page. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to link at the very top of the description so you can head over to Patreon and see these pictures in this link easily. The link will be included in the YouTube version, but it'll be easily clickable in the other version. Anyway, and remember that all of these posts for October are public. And once November rolls around, I'm going to be evaluating what I feel about it, what I think happened, this, that, and the other. So we'll see. But without further ado, bam! Look at this. So chunky. So this is core spun, which means there is a central piece in the middle of all this fluff. And when the yarn is spun, it is spun perpendicular to that core, which is why it's called core spun. Generally speaking, this is done on a spinning wheel. You can absolutely do it with a drop spindle. It is also hard as hell to do, and I have not done so successfully myself, and I've not seen any evidence of people doing it successfully, so much as I know it's possible. And by not seeing anybody do it, I haven't looked that hard, so that's why I haven't seen anybody do it. But I know that it is technically possible. It just, the way it's done, there's a lot of moving pieces, and the way, I feel like a drop spindle isn't the best way to do it. I feel like you could do it a little more easily on a different kind of spindle. The problem therein would be, though, is that different spindles and different weights have a tendency to be better used for certain kinds of yarn. And so there's that. And it's just a lot. So one of my goals is actually to start making this stuff at some point, because I love core spun. So, I actually got this. This was a D-stash from Gigi. Hi, Gigi. I love it so much. Which is really funny because I don't like red. I don't like bright colors, red, orange, yellow, gold, anything that like draws attention, hot pink, stuff like that. Not my thing. But I have an amazingly large amount of stuff like this for some reason. So, generally speaking, core spun. Let's hold on. Whoa, this is so fun. That was super cool. What? Yay, we went diving. Sorry. One of the main uses for this stuff is for making rugs, and usually use a peg loom. You can also arm knit or finger knit. I haven't seen, I don't know that you arm crochet, like you can finger crochet, but otherwise you would just use a really fat hook or really big needles. Personally, though, what I like to do with this stuff is loose it weave it. And you can loose it with your hands, or you can loose it with a lucet, which is basically it's a fork, is what it's called. Some of these pieces are really thick, and so I actually started to do it. And there were some pieces that were like a little thicker towards I think the end that I started with. So that meant that yeah, I had to sorry, I keep getting lost. It's happening again. I hate when I dissociate when I'm on video because it makes it really hard to get back to where I was, and then it's like I'm not the only one noticing and everybody else is too. Okay, wait. I think the train of thought is coming out of the tunnel. Okay, lucet weaving. I've actually got some pieces made of this, so made this lucet woven pieces, not from this, but just from coarse spun in general. And I gotta see. I'm trying to think if I have a good picture of it. So far, I have lucet woven 2 batches. One was alpaca, one was mohair, I think. Yeah. And then this is 100% merino. And actually lucet wove 2 pieces and then worked those 2 pieces together. And you can see part of it in my profile picture here on Patreon. I'll see if I can find the whole picture and you see if you can see more of it. But if for some reason I can't find it, what I will do is I will update this post tomorrow. So I will be updating the Patreon post, and I will add a picture of what I worked so you can see what I'm talking about, and the lucet. So it all makes a little more sense. Gosh, keep getting lost. So yeah, I think that's it. That's it. I haven't done anything with it yet. Like I said, I did start to. And the end that I started with, there were some really thick pieces. And lucet weaving isn't difficult. It's actually really, really easy. It just, there's a tension that works best. And if you pull tension too tight, or you have it too loose, and then you tighten it, or you don't keep it uniform, and you mean to keep it uniform, it changes how the piece looks, and it's not altogether attractive. Now, if you mean to go thick and thin, which I absolutely have, I'm trying to think of, oh, yes. Okay. If you do it on purpose, that's one thing, but if it's just because you are new to something and you haven't gotten your tension down, which is, really common when you start working stuff, then it's less visually desirable. So, yeah. What I would love to hear from you is, do you have any of the stuff? Do you have specifically any Loopy Mango? But honestly, I'd love to hear from you if you have any coarse spun. Have you seen it? Have you looked at it? Is it something that interests you? Is it exciting? It is very thick and it is very heavy, and so it's not good for a ton of things. Like I feel like you wouldn't really want to coat out of this, to be honest with you. But if you live somewhere where it's super cold, then, maybe. The other thing that I would say is, because it's so thick, it's very heavy, and that would affect the drape after a while because gravity is going to take an effect. And I dare say washing this would be a nightmare because you would absolutely have to hand wash it, and you would have to be very careful that you didn't stretch it. So things that you don't have to wash often, like outerwear, or that are just smaller, would work best. But I think I'm going to lucet weave it, and I wanted some black, and I don't have any black coarse spun. And I'd want to use coarse spun altogether, I think, in the project too. I think that's it. Okay. I'm going to go before my brain the light bulb turns off again. So, Like I said, I would love to hear from you if you've ever had any loopy mango, if you've worked with coarse spun, how'd you like it? Would you not like? If you've been thinking about it, all the good stuff. You can drop it in the comments below this video. And of course, if you want to see a close-up of it and see the Ravelry page, you can scroll down into the description on Patreon, and there will be a link on YouTube to send you over there so you can see it there too. And that's it. All right. So long, farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, and I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 7th, and we're going to do a Monday motivation. And just a heads up for the future, whenever I can record a video early, I'm probably going to start doing that. And the main purpose of that is just so I can make less work and less stress and less strain on myself, instead of trying to do everything on the day of, because there's some things that I can record sooner. There's some things that are not really time dependent. It's just a share when I share it. And so it'll be stuff like that. Anything that is time dependent, like a work in progress Wednesday, finished object Fridays, I would say the Monday motivation too. Those are generally speaking not going to be pre-recorded, but like things like the Stashcast or the art hauls, those just happen on a specific day, and if it's now or if it's in a few weeks, it doesn't really matter. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have and you know somebody else who would as well, be sure to share my Patreon with them, and of course you're welcome to share the YouTube if that's what you're sharing this from. But do remember, this is kind of like just a little temporary experiment to see what happens, where it goes, and how it works out. And